September 2000. Inside Blockbuster's headquarters in Dallas, three men from a struggling internet company sit across from the most powerful video rental executives on earth. Their company is losing money. The dot-com bubble is collapsing. It has fewer than 500,000 subscribers and no guarantee of surviving another year. So its founders have come with an offer. Buy us. The price, $50 million. Blockbuster has every reason to feel untouchable. Its blue and yellow stores cover the country. Friday night at Blockbuster is practically an American ritual. At its peak, more than 9,000 stores and over 80,000 employees. The visitors propose a partnership. Blockbuster owns the company, the startup runs its online business, the stores promote it. According to one of the men in the room, Blockbuster's chief executive struggles not to laugh. The company being offered for $50 million is Netflix. Blockbuster says no. 10 years later, it files for bankruptcy, carrying nearly $1 billion of debt. Netflix becomes worth more than Blockbuster ever was. It is remembered as one of the worst decisions in business history. But that version is too simple. Blockbuster didn't die because its executives failed to see Netflix coming. They saw it. They met with it. They later copied it, and for a moment came frighteningly close to beating it. What destroyed Blockbuster was more dangerous than ignorance. It was trapped by a machine that made too much money to dismantle. A machine built on stores, debt, and hundreds of millions of dollars collected from customers for returning movies late. This is the story of Blockbuster, the programmer who reinvented the video store, the garbage collector who turned it into an empire, the meeting that became a punchline, and the business that protected yesterday till there was no tomorrow left. 1985, Dallas, Texas. A software entrepreneur named David Cook is looking for a new business. His company sells computer services to the oil industry, and oil has collapsed. His wife, Sandy, points at something growing instead. Home video. Video stores already exist, but most are small, dim, and chaotic. A few hundred tapes, inventory on paper, clerks guessing what's in stock. Cook sees a data problem disguised as a retail business. On October 19, 1985, he opens the first Blockbuster video. Brighter, cleaner, family-friendly, thousands of movies face out on open shelves, and a computer tracking every tape, every customer, every rental. That database is the real innovation. Cook can see which genres perform in each neighborhood and run an inventory no independent operator could control. The local video shop feels like someone's basement. Blockbuster feels like a supermarket for entertainment. But Cook is a systems man, not an empire builder. The empire arrives in 1987 when a group led by Wayne Huizenga takes control. Huizenga built waste management by consolidating thousands of local garbage companies, and video rental looks exactly the same. A fragmented industry waiting to be bought, standardized, and replaced. Blockbuster explodes across America, then the world. Scale brings leverage with the studios, national advertising, and a selection no local store can match. The business is a beautiful cycle. More stores create more customers justify more copies of the hits, and every successful store funds the next one. In 1994, Viacom buys Blockbuster for more than $8 billion. The video store has become a financial weapon, big enough to help finance Viacom's acquisition of Paramount. But hidden inside the empire is the flaw that will destroy it. Every store depends on the customer making two trips, one to rent the movie, one to bring it back. And the company discovers the second trip can be extremely profitable. The late fee begins as a practical necessity. A tape has to come back so it can be rented again. Perfectly reasonable. Then it becomes something else. A revenue stream. Customers forget. The case ends up beside the television. Midnight passes and a $3 rental becomes $5, then $7, then more. The customer hates it. Blockbuster depends on it. By the early 2000s, eliminating late fees was expected to cost the company roughly $250 to $300 million in annual operating income. Microsoft taxed every PC clone. Nintendo taxed every game. Costco taxed the front door. Blockbuster taxed forgetting. It is a peculiar kind of profit. The store sells nothing extra. It simply waits for the clock to run out. And customers begin to associate the entire brand with punishment. Deadlines, penalties, the anxiety of remembering whether the movie was due Tuesday or Wednesday. Inside the company, though, those fees prop up thousands of leases, payrolls, and brightly lit stores. Removing them would make customers happier and punch a hole in the economics. That is when two entrepreneurs in California design a company around the exact thing Blockbuster cannot remove. No due dates, no late fees, no second trip. 1997. Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph are testing ideas for renting movies over the internet. The breakthrough isn't streaming. Home internet is far too slow. The breakthrough is a small silver disc, light enough to mail cheaply and tough enough to survive an envelope. Netflix launches in 1998, charging by the rental. Not revolutionary enough. Then it changes the model. A monthly subscription, a list of movies chosen online, several DVDs at home at once. Return one and the next arrives. No due dates, no late fees. The difference looks minor. It is structural. Blockbuster earns money from transactions and penalties. Netflix earns money from a relationship. Blockbuster's shelves are limited by the size of each store. Netflix centralizes its library and learns what you might want next week, not just what's hot tonight. But in 2000, Netflix is bleeding cash in a collapsing .com market. It doesn't yet look like Blockbuster's killer. It looks like a feature Blockbuster could add whenever it chooses. That belief brings Hastings, Randolph, and finance chief Barry McCarthy to Dallas. The proposal is not give us $50 million and disappear. It is a partnership. Netflix becomes Blockbuster's online arm. The stores promote it, and together they combine physical retail with home delivery before anyone else can. For Netflix, the meeting is survival. For Blockbuster, it's a pitch from a tiny, unprofitable .com in the middle of the wreckage. John Antioco, Blockbuster's chief executive, listens. When the valuation reaches $50 million, Mark Randolph later recalls, Antioco appears to be struggling not to laugh. The meeting ends without a deal. Here's the uncomfortable truth. In that room, in 2000, saying no was not obviously irrational. Netflix was losing tens of millions, streaming was years away, and Blockbuster had billions in revenue. The true mistake came after the meeting, as the evidence arrived. By 2002, Netflix had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. By 2004, millions. That year, Blockbuster finally attacked. Blockbuster Online undercut Netflix's price and shipped DVDs with no late fees. Then came something Netflix could not match: total access. Get a DVD by mail, return it to any store, walk out with another movie, and trigger the next disc in your queue at the same time. For the first time, the 9,000 store burden looked like an advantage. Subscribers came. Netflix felt real pressure. Blockbuster was not doomed by technology. It had a credible answer. Then the company turned its weapons on itself. Antioco understands that beating Netflix means sacrificing today's profits for tomorrow's business. In 2005, Blockbuster announces the end of late fees across most company-operated stores. Marketed as liberation, no more racing to the store, no more penalties, it surrenders those hundreds of millions in annual income before even counting the cost of advertising the change. And the fine print bites. Keep a movie past the grace period and Blockbuster converts your rental into a purchase. Confusion follows. Lawsuits follow. The fix for the company's most hated policy creates a new trust problem. Franchisees are furious. Many refuse to participate, and the national promise fractures depending on which Blockbuster you walk into. Meanwhile, the money is draining. Viacom has spun Blockbuster off loaded with close to $1 billion in debt, and every dollar spent fighting Netflix is a dollar the debt doesn't get. Then activist investor Carl Icahn arrives, attacking Antioco's pay and strategy, winning board seats pushing against the costly online war. The fight turns personal and public. Antioco leaves in 2007. His successor, Jim Keyes, comes from the convenience store business. Strategy swings back to the physical stores. Total access is scaled back. Prices rise, online investment slows. Netflix is given oxygen. The irony is brutal. Blockbuster finally built the weapon that might have saved it, and because the weapon reduced short-term profit, the company put it down. By now, the problem is bigger than Netflix. Redbox parks $1-a-night kiosks outside grocery stores. Cable offers movies on demand. Netflix begins streaming in 2007, turning the mailbox itself into an intermediate technology. Blockbuster is trapped in the most expensive position. Thousands of leases, thousands of payrolls, thousands of stores full of inventory, and fewer customers walking in. Less cash per store makes the stores worse, which drives away more customers. The scale that once crushed the independents now magnifies every decline. The stores aren't just becoming obsolete, they are draining the money Blockbuster needs to build the replacement. On September 23, 2010, Blockbuster files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Dish Network buys the remains in 2011. The blue and yellow signs disappear until a single store in Bend, Oregon, becomes a tourist attraction, an empire reduced to nostalgia. Netflix survives, but not because it predicted everything. Netflix nearly failed, angered its own customers, made humiliating mistakes. The difference, Netflix repeatedly damaged its existing business to build the next one. Rentals to subscriptions, DVDs to streaming, licensing to originals. Blockbuster waited until the old machine was already collapsing. Blockbuster is remembered as a company that failed to understand technology. That is not what happened. It understood computers before most retailers. It met Netflix. It launched DVD by mail. It killed late fees. It combined stores and online delivery in a way Netflix couldn't. Blockbuster saw almost every piece of the future. What it could not do was accept the price of reaching it. Every attempt to build the future weakened the numbers supporting the present. And every time the choice became painful, the old business won. That is the most dangerous kind of failure, not blindness, attachment. The $50 million meeting became famous because the mistake fits in one sentence. They could have bought Netflix. But the deeper mistake lasted a decade. They could have become Netflix. For a brief moment, they almost did. Then they changed their minds. Every empire in this series found something to tax. Microsoft taxed the computer. Nintendo taxed the game. Costco taxed the door. McDonald's taxed the ground. Blockbuster taxed forgetting, and grew so dependent on the penalty that it couldn't build a business customers liked better. Today's profit can become tomorrow's prison. A company doesn't survive disruption by protecting its best business. It survives by replacing it before somebody else does. Next time, the man who bought a dying textile mill out of spite and turned it into the greatest wealth-building machine in history. If you don't want to miss Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, you know what to do.